It's about 10:30 on the dot. I don't think I could have done that again. Kind of wanted to. This was my first day back to actually be able to be on YouTube after my week off that they so lovingly gave me. Um, it's been a wild week. And to be quite honest, the week was necessary for me to put my energy elsewhere. So it's all about choosing to see blessings. Sometimes they come in disguise, sometimes they come wrapped in something that you would rather not see immediately. And then several days later, you realize, oh, I needed that distraction, or I needed that turn of events, or I needed that person to help me make that decision. And so I missed a very busy week on YouTube. There's been a lot of um, information dropped on the Summer Wells case. There's been a lot of speculation due to this new character, Jose, coming out of the woodwork. Um, Everyone has gotten a new emotional endorphin rush. And so, for the people that are actually tied to the case emotionally, then they've had a roller coaster of a ride this week. And then the people that are tied to the case financially, they have used the emotions of the other people to have their own roller coaster ride. And it's sad to see the break because you're beginning to see the creators now for exactly what they are, for exactly what they choose to be. Um, but it's also a great learning experience. It's a great lesson in life that this platform mimics a lot of the real world, even though it's a fictitious place. It's just a little place in the blip where we can all send radio waves. It's not a real place. It still mimics a lot of how we behave socially when we interact, which is sad. But I have to send like massive kudos out to my boy Ryan at church because when he was approached by some people that do not deserve his time, he laid the smack down. He said, "Hey, I'll do an interview. I'll talk about this case, but I won't do it in any way that's going to financially benefit anyone." And I think that's exemplary. Just Ryan, just everyday Ryan. His heart is in the right place. Hi, Justin. How are you doing? So it's been a huge media week, a huge social media week, and I honestly probably would have made a couple videos, especially talking about how Ryan handled his Summer Wells exposure that he did and the retaliation of people. But I'm actually glad that I was not able to be on YouTube this week. I'm actually glad I got my strikes. Yes, I say strikes. Isn't it lovely? Um, I'm actually glad that I was not posting because my energy was needed somewhere else. And it gave me, and I'm somebody that sits back and watches the motivation of others anyway, but it gave me the additional time to pay attention to players that I don't normally pay attention to, players in this circle. Hey, Country Christian, I just caught you. Um, and it gave me time to kind of back out and say, okay, I got to pay attention to other things this week. And I had some stuff in the real world that absolutely had to be taken care of. I'm going through a health insurance change. My finances have to be tweaked and fixed. And I mean, it's just if somebody had told me the financial burdens that I was going to have this month, I would have laughed in their face a couple months ago. But it's been a horrible month. But hey, I got through it. That's all that matters at the end of the day. So, would my energy have been better spent at home or on YouTube? Well, it's much more appropriate for my energy to be spent at home this last week. So, YouTube actually did me a huge favor by not allowing me to have this distraction that I normally use. Hi, Gypsy. And so I paid extra attention to things at home. And guess what? I actually found an insurance company running a scam, robbing people of HRA funds. Um, had to talk to a state investigator, had to do a big application information thing for him. Um, yeah, I did a lot of good this week. I did a lot of good in a week that I thought was going to be spent in a lot of boredom. I was able to use that energy to do a lot of good that's going to reach out and help a lot of people. But it's still sad for me to pop on to YouTube after being gone for a week and see the animosity and see people slinging such hate, and see people still playing the same games. Um, Everybody wants to know my take on the Summer Wells case. It has not changed since day one. This is a manipulation event. Go back and watch my videos to where I said if I could speak to Don Wells, this is what I would say. It hasn't changed. I would still say the same thing. I knew that they were manipulation um, masters. You know, they just, well, they think they are. But I knew that all of this was going to be a game from the beginning. And it's sad to say that here we sit, pushing a year later, and we're no closer to to everyone's worst nightmares of what potentially could have happened. You know, we're not finding anything out. We're just closer to knowing that we're possibly not going to get any answers. Hi, Gypsy. I'm glad you like Cluck Gable. If you want to go back, guys, a couple of videos. The first video I posted when I was able to come back this morning, I shared the video of Cluck Gable, which I sat down at my kitchen table just to craft and get my anxieties out. And, I can't lift weights anymore. I can't do a lot of my big burly things, so I craft now. I've turned into the middle aged crafting woman. And I've always been a little artsy fartsy woman anyway, but it was my first time working with a sculpting medium. I worked with air dry clay, and I wanted to do like a Jimmy Henson dark crystal kind of puppet chicken ornament thing. That's what I had in my head. And I thought I was going to make this small little ornament, and I ended up making like this pound and a half chicken. But I could sit him in the recliner and he could sit up all on his own and watch TV. And I was like, I may have just overdone this a little bit, but he was adorable. His colors came out so great. All his fabric that he was made with was also chicken related fabric. And by the time I'd finished him, he was so big and fluffy. I thought somebody's going to flip him over and look at his bare bottom. So I put little drawers on him. I made him little undies. And then I thought, well, that's no fun. If somebody does flip him over, which somebody will. We all have that one nosy family member that will flip things over. So I flipped him over and I put eyeballs and a little smile on his hiney so that when people flip him over, they get another smile. But I put him together and I thought, why in the world did I just make this? I was laughing at myself because he had such a little charm to him, like an old Hollywood kind of charm. He was one of those things that you could see on somebody's whatnot shelf, 100 years ago in their home. And so I named him Cluck Gable because I thought he had an old world charm. And my husband told me I was going to have to make a scarlet to go with him now. And I thought, oh my goodness, I'll just have to sit down and see if one happens because I don't know if one will happen or not. But I did get the possum planter done for the little boy that lives here that is on the spectrum. And his mom's she was supposed to pick it up this morning, but we had some issues. Um, Today started spring break, which changed his schedule, which changed her schedule, which how schedule issues, especially with kids on the spectrum, can be a massive speed bump. It was for her this morning, so we're gonna try again tomorrow um, to get that to her. So I made him a little possum planter, and I actually decided I'm not gonna make it all out of yarn and soft things because this child has been given soft things his entire life. No one has entrusted him with something valuable. And his mom just such amazing work with him. And and I thought I'm not going to be one of those people that also makes a soft thing. They needed a smaller planter for, I understood that. But I went ahead and sculpted out a possum head, and affixed the possum head to the body and sculpted out kind of like the shoulders, head and neck, and the ears. And then went ahead and affixed that to the the bottle that I picked out, which had a very wide base, so it's a stable bottle. And it's actually one of those small Tide or Gain detergent bottles. And I wrapped it and glued all the pom poms to it, the gray pom poms, and did like 3-layer painting on the face. I made a yarn wrapped foam tail. So it actually does kind of look like the closest to a possum's tail that I've ever made so far. And by the time I did all of that, we did the adoption contract. So he picks up the possum. It has the adoption contract in the belly to where he has to take guardianship over the possum and has to love, provide, support, care for, and protect her. And that should any harm befall Penelope the possum, um, then he brings her back to me to be repaired. And I'll do repairs for however long repairs need to occur. He just has to tell me if he broke her, because we're working with someone who's starting to have like outbursts and stuff. If it was an outburst that damaged her, then he has to tell me what the outburst was and tell me 3 other things that he could have done with that energy before using it in a harmful manner toward something or someone else. And so it's just to start to get him to do that little 3-second pause of whoa, and starting to train himself to whoa. I feel that urge, whoa. I'm going to have to explain myself. I need to think of 3 other things now as opposed to later. And it's just starting to shift his brain. Because if we ask him to start thinking about these things, then eventually he'll put them as a priority instead of an afterthought. So I'm really excited for him to pick her up, really excited to get the feedback. I really want to start to learn how to do the sculpting clay more because he is in love with dinosaurs. And I'm already starting to watch certain like bottles and detergent bottles and stuff for shapes that I can build off of to make like a dinosaur coin bank. Something else for him to enjoy. Hi, Jamie. Jamie, there'll be another video coming soon. Um, a taste test video. I'm sure you're going to enjoy that. Um, but yeah, I've had a week of ups and downs. I had a lot of days where I spent doing nothing but battling insurance companies, battling HR departments to get correct paperwork, so that the transition to a new insurance could happen. Because I don't want to pay two insurances any longer than I have to. The first month transition looks like it's going to be probably that's going to be an issue, but after that, things should go back to normal. I got the rest of my paperwork to my advocate today, so I'm hoping to have the new insurance contract done, finalized within the next 48 hours, and that way it will be in place to take effect the first of next month. April Fool's Day, which is hilarious to me. Um, but that way I will not have a lapse in service, a lapse in coverage, because that terrifies me, especially with my health. But it also is going to open up a lot of potential in-home care that I some honestly, guys, I'm getting to where I need it more than I don't, which is difficult for me to admit to because I'm such an independent idiot. Um, but it would be better to have and not need than to be in a place like I was a few weeks ago when my back gave out and my abdominal cavity swelled, and I needed, like over 2 weeks of my friends taking care of me in the evenings when David wasn't home. I have great friends, but I don't want them to become caregivers. I want them to be friends. So it would be better to have it in place and not need it, as opposed to be like I was a month ago and need it and not have it. So just getting all of that set up, hoping to get some physical therapy, um, getting set up because um, where I do a lot of sitting up, I use certain muscles, but I don't use others. And I need to be using the others because we're starting to see atrophy occur in my right leg. It's already, my left quad is already atrophied, but we're starting to see it in my right leg now too. So I'm hoping to get some physical therapy and to just kind of um, create a bit more balance. I try to do some stretching and some exercises, but when I'm alone, if David's at work, I try not to overdo it because I'm terrified that I will get down somewhere and get hurt. Um, so hopefully, the addition of a few hours here and there of some in-home care and some physical therapy will start to create a little bit of a safety bubble for me to try more things, to do more things, and to have the safety of someone here when I'm doing it, so that I'm not bombarding David with stay here, help me do this, help me do this, help me do this, and then run him to death, and then him go and work an 8 to 12 hour shift. It's not fair to him. I don't want. It's very important for my husband to remain my husband and not become a caregiver. And that line has been blurred the last couple of months. So I'm hoping to get on a better foundation with that as well. Um, but I mean, Kim was great. Kim was here every night I needed her. I almost had to absolutely beat her to make her take gas money. She would not. I mean, she literally would not accept anything else. And she had her and her husband had her eye on, had their eye on a couple of fur art pieces that David had done, and so David was like, "Here, take them. They're yours." Because we were just so thankful to, have such good friends so close that we're just. I mean, in a moment's notice, if I needed her tonight, I could message her. She'd be here in 5 minutes. So, um, but y'all, a week off from YouTube is not as bad as you would think. Yes, I miss you all. It was boring. It was very boring sometimes. But my energy was needed elsewhere and was placed elsewhere and did positive things. But it's so sad to come back and see all the negative, all the blow up of the summer wells, all the new storylines, and people are saying, Elizabeth, how do you feel about this? I think that if anyone had viable information, that they would have already told it, unless their viable information incriminates themselves or someone they fear. I think that a lot of the raving and lunacy that you see from certain creators is sadly just their failed attempt at what they consider a successful career. I think that they really think of these people that go online and do harm to others, or wish harm upon others, or create drama that hurts others, or tries to push people into financial hardships to support them on this platform. I think I think many of them get an emotional kickback from that more than even a financial one. They get an emotional kickback, and so they do it, and they think that it makes me feel good, so I must be doing something good. And sadly, we have a population of adults in this world that look at life that way. That if it feels good for me, it must be good for everybody else, and they don't understand with the drama and the people that they're kind of emotionally holding hostage with their drama and their channels and their false narratives and their mock interviews and their mock little traveling events and um, it's just sad for me to see. Number one, it's sad for me to see that people do that and think that they're doing something positive, but it's sad for me to see the people that support them and think that they are supporting something positive and think that they're supporting, hopefully, this little girl being found. But that money very, very rarely goes beyond that person. It goes to that creator. That creator is obviously not stockpiling those funds to do anything truly beneficial for the Summer Wells case. Um, they're just trying to give different perspectives, and for the most part, I'm like, that's fine. If you're going and doing, and people want to watch it, that's great. But what I've noticed specifically with this case is that people have been conned into giving up lots of money, like large sums of money, that was intended for certain things, never got done, or was not done appropriately, or not done as advertised the money would be used. And then you end up with people um, trying to harm others by saying that the only reason they started a channel, 4 days after Summer went missing, and they live within a 40-mile radius, and therefore they must have something to do with her missing, or they wouldn't have started a channel. Well, there's a lot of people in East Tennessee. I am in East Tennessee. There are a lot of people in East Tennessee that started a YouTube channel after this little girl went missing because it touched many people's hearts in many different ways. So that's flawed logic. There's a lot of flawed logic out there in a very large adult population that sadly have the desire to go live and for some reason feel that it is helpful. And hey, everybody gets to do their thing. That's fine. But I wish that people would look at the creators that create drama or create hostility or create cussing matches when they have people in on platforms. They have open platform night, or they say they're pulling backgrounds and they give long fictitious statements about where people supposedly have worked and purchased vehicles and paid monies owed to, and they don't know anything. Um, it's just become, sadly, a lot of this has become a joke. And that's so disrespectful to that little girl. So disrespectful. But I walked away from it right before Christmas. I'd had enough. They started trying to say that they were pulling backgrounds on people, and I knew the information that they were trying to give was not, it was not background information that you're accessible to. It was just, somebody having diarrhea of the mouth. Um, People were starting to want money that they had given back. Number one, if somebody is doing something like, I'm going to go interview these people for the Summer Wells case, I want you to send me money. If you want to see those people interviewed and you give them money, that's up to you. That's fine. And they go do that, that's great. But when you look at somebody and they say, give me money for this fund, or give me money or donate to this fund to help locate this little girl, or to help, if they say fund, if they say these certain keywords, make sure you're giving to a fund. Before you ever send any money, make sure that this money is going somewhere where it's going to be kept safe, that it's got all the correct tax info so that you can report all of this if you give a large sum. Make sure that you know what you're doing, because sadly this platform is super highly manipulated with people that are just, they're just out there wanting to be supported for life, and I've been in a financial hardship this month with having to start a new insurance while still paying for the old, and everything just kind of hitting us all at once. And the first thing I did in my life was go and shed anything that was not necessary. It left. It stopped. Because I know that for the next few months we're gonna have to be tight around here. We're gonna have to be squeaking. So the first thing I did was anything that was not absolutely necessary, it stopped immediately. So we live super simple to the get go. The only thing I have is a couple of programs to watch. And I like Netflix and I like Discovery Plus. And I watch more of the Netflix on like a repeat. Like when I can't sleep and stuff, I'll put it on to kind of drown me out at night and hopefully numb me to sleep. Then I do the Discovery Plus. And so I let Discovery Plus go. It's only $8, but that's $8. You start looking at other avenues of things, that you can let go. You start looking at recipes and how to, if you've got any recipe that has beef in it, when you fry cabbage with beef, it tastes just like beef. So you can double the volume of your beef. You still think you're eating beef and you're still full and you're still getting, a good, healthy something to eat. But you spend less money on that recipe. Um, that's the first thing I did was go through and look at food recipes. Take off all the extras. Look at food recipes and anything that I can like make myself that is required. Then we just make ourselves. Um, we live super simple anyway, so it wasn't a big thing. It was just having bills hit all together with this huge insurance change, and then finding out also that there had been $6,000 fraudulently taken out of a health savings account. That was a big one. But we'll get through it. But it's just so sad that you sit there and you watch other people, grown adults, on this platform, and they will have no shame in saying, "I need a $75 pack carton of cigarettes." And I'm like, that's that you want that. You don't need it. You want that. And I've sat here and watched adults yell at their subs because their subs got in a routine of giving them money, and then that sub had to stop because of some hardship in their life. I watched creators then on a live yell at that sub because that sub did not have the money to send that month. And it blows my mind. It blows my mind that there are a lot of creators that have, they've just become sole Summer Well channels that have used it in such a manner as to create this pay scenario, to drive up and down the roads and to show you road signs that you can see on Google Earth. I'm gonna drive to Ben Hill Road and show you what Ben Hill Road looks like. Well, number one, it's not a good idea to go drive in the backwoods of East Tennessee. Number two, it's not a good idea to go somewhere where there's an active investigation that's still going underway and put yourself in the middle of it. Number three, we all can know what it looks like because we've seen the topo maps, we've seen the aerial maps, we can all do good Google Maps. There's no reason for that other than to generate funds. So I'm kind of glad I missed this week because I saw a lot of that, and I would have had to have addressed it, and it would have put me in an even more unhappy, saddened state. So I'm almost glad that I got my strikes and had to be quiet for a week. So it was actually quite nice to have quiet time. Oh, Denise, cabbage is a great way to like fluff out anything, especially if you've got kids that love to eat. especially like tacos and stuff. I put cabbage in my beef for my kids' tacos their entire life, and they never, to this day, and they're 23 and 24, fixing to turn 23 and 24, to this day probably do not know that I put cabbage in the beef because it takes on the taste of the beef. It tastes just like beef. Um, and we've just made a lot of casseroles that last a little bit longer, give you a few more extra servings, stuff that food that stretches. I do have David because of cholesterol. I do have him on Quick Oats, the overnight oats. So he gets up every morning. He has overnight oats. It's taken me a while to get him used to that. Um, but he and I both eat them. I love them. It took a little bit more effort to get him to kind of gravitate, and now he's gotten so used to them that he looks forward to them. Um, yeah, Denise, that's great. I can't eat a lot. I can't eat a whole lot of onion because of the way that my digestive tract and tummy and stuff is affected. There are certain foods that don't like me, and diced onions, for some reason, is one of them now. Onions just they hurt me. They do. I used to love them. They do not like me at all now. But so if you did miss what happened to me, um, about a month ago when Ryan and Heavy Duty Country went through their spat, and it turned from what I thought was a normal trolling event between like two YouTube personalities into something very toxic that just kind of, I mean, I left the videos up. Y'all can see me work through it thinking this is a trolling and then going, no, this is not. Something else is wrong. I read an entire book on trademark crap just to understand what was going on. Um, and when I basically said my 2 cents that the Heavy Duty Country, you know, went into a contract with Stone Baby Sounds, and that Ryan is not an employee of Stone Baby Sounds and therefore was not also under contract. If Heavy Duty Country had thought Ryan was going to write his songs, he should have had Ryan under another contract to write his songs. That Ryan was not under any. I mean, there was no reason for Ryan to be writing his songs. He got him a free weekend to see what the music industry was like. Flew him out to a show. We got him like a 50% off deal with that production company to where he only paid like half what everybody else would have paid, which was, I mean, it's over, just beyond what anyone should do. That's big help. It's somebody giving you a solid favor right there. But they didn't leave, and then for almost a year have no contact. But somehow in the back of your mind, think that this person's supposed to be writing your songs. Would you not have been contacting this person like every few days to check in on your songs? I would. I've been like, yeah, this is my next business venture. I'm going to make sure it's exactly what I want. I want to make sure that these songs say exactly what I want to say. I want to make sure that, somebody's helping me, but it's my thought process and what I want to say coming through at the end. I would have like been on the phone at least twice a week with this person. To have no contact for almost a year, but yet think that person's writing your material, so that when the production company says, "Hey, we're ready for you to come lay down your tracks," then you call and you're like, "I've got these 3 days. Which one works for you to come to the studio?" Well, why should I come to the studio? Well, do because you're writing my songs. What? I just thought it was all stupidity. I thought, you know, he called Jen a pretty solid favor with the 50% off the Stone Baby Sounds contract. Um, but I see that a lot in Ryan's world. I see Ryan get really excited to want to help people because he's like, hey, if I made it, you can make it. It takes a lot of hard work, but if I did it, you can do it. He gets excited for people that are excited about trying something. And I've also seen a lot of people think that since Ryan got excited about possibilities in their life, that he should take ownership and financial responsibility for their life. And it's like, no, dude, that's not how this happens. And sadly, I think Heavy Duty's fan base did not quite understand. I think that they thought Ryan was somehow in the contract with Stone Baby Sounds, and I'm like, Ryan is not an employee. That is a production company. Ryan, no, was under no obligation to write songs. And I just really think that Heavy Duty just had he just over exaggerated this bond that he and Ryan made in one weekend of getting to know each other. And his anticipation got the best of him. And so his expectations just kept getting higher and higher. And he was not prepared himself for this venture. And, he was laying half of it on a complete stranger. So obviously he was not prepared. And I still feel that he made a poor decision, that he got all endorphined up and emotioned up when he was in with Ryan for the weekend, and just made a poor decision. He had an option to take this adult decision and try this career option, but he shouldn't have agreed to anything there. He should have gone home and thought about it for a few days, left the high emotions and left the endorphins, and settled down and made the decision on a quieter day after he thought through what was going to be expected of him. And I think he just made a bad adult decision. He made it in a quick time frame, and when he was high on emotions and endorphins, and in the midst of someone who had already broken the glass ceiling and made it. Never make decisions in those highly emotional places. You'll always make the wrong one. And he made the wrong one. And then he wanted to blame it on everyone else. So I just thought that was childish, and goes against everything that he says he stands for. And I just thought that his behavior was juvenile. Well, apparently his minions um, decided to attack my channel, and I had well over 30 reports to deal with. And I appealed the one, and it was so funny because the one that happened to be the first strike that I had to appeal was a medical misinformation. And this is what irritates me the most, y'all. The medical misinformation was not about anything you would think it would be about in this day and age. It was about me talking about my own terminal diagnosis, about my opinion of the treatment I received in Appalachia due to demographic and geographic issues, in my opinion of the treatment protocol just as it stands, even with people that get good treatment. Just my opinion about my life, and living with this in a very rural area, and how my life kind of compares to people that are dealing with it living in an urban area. And just my opinion. It's medical misinformation. I fought with them for that for a few weeks, which fighting with YouTube is literally just typing into this little tiny box. That's it. You speak to no one. It's just a little tiny box. You get to put some characters in. That's it. Um, and after a few weeks, they finally said, "Sorry, no, we're still going to call it medical misinformation." And I thought, okay, I'm just not even didn't even want to deal with them anymore. I was like, whatever, fine. And a couple hours later, I got another strike, and I was like, I think something's wrong. I think you're mistaken, because like you've already given me a strike today. I think this was sent in error. And they're like, oh no, you got a second one because the live stream you did the other night, basically someone said there was dangerous content, um, and it made them feel unsafe. And it was the live stream where my husband had shared, um, his his items that he needed for his fur trade. So his snares and some of his traps. They were just pieces of metal that he had just wanted to show you, so that when he does his videos and say I caught him in a 330 or caught him in a foothold, you all would know what he was then referring to. Um, and my husband felt horrible. He was like, I caused you to lose your outlet for a week. I'm so sorry. I was laughing. I was laughing. And he's like, what is wrong with you? And I was like, somewhere in this world, there's someone sitting in his corner crying and sucking his thumb because a piece of metal scared him. And I just think that's hilarious. I just think it's hilarious. Um, but it just shows how out of touch parts of society are and desire to be. And my big thing to them was like, well, I want to appeal this because he's legal. He has his fur trapper's license. He legally traps these animals that are legal game in our state. He's completely 100% legal. It's important for us to share a way of life. This is not anything that is frowned upon in our area. It's legal. So whatever this person was scared of, it's all legal materials in our state. And I said basically, and most of the traps are all legal federally. It's just in some states you have to the use is monitored in different ways. And they were like, oh, no, 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 no. They actually thought it was a weapon when they first reported it. So they just said, we're not even going to basically deal with an appeal. It was just, I got an immediate strike. So I got 2 strikes within 2 hours in one day and just had to sit and laugh. Just had to sit and laugh. Because what can you do at that point when you understand how out, I don't know, just out in the ether most people must live mentally and emotionally to see content like me and my husband and think that we're dangerous. It's just funny because I am the person you will run to in the event of danger. I am the person that will help you. I am the person that is going to always help people. And so it's just funny for me to have people respond to me, and it's just funny. But it also, it told me a lot. There's a lot going on in the world right now, and and I know that the YouTube overlords think this is going to probably shut me up or quiet me down, but it's only made me more passionate. Because I looked at my husband, we were watching the news, and all this is going on worldwide, and all these people, in the midst of war and all this chaos and everything. And I looked at my husband, and I said, "Well, I said there's one thing I can put together that's my opinion, but there's one thing that my opinion I feel will never happen now in the United States." And he said, "What's that?" And I said, "I don't think the U.S. will ever fall in war." And he's like, "What? What are you talking about?" I said, "There's no way. There's no way that our nation will ever crumble in the event of war." And he said, "Why do you say that?" And I said, "I think we've crumbled already. If it's at the point where someone is watching a feed about someone who traps beavers and coyotes and otters and looks at a piece of metal and is so scared that they have to push a button and say that scared me." we're already done for. If everybody's already needing their safe space so they can suck their thumb and cry, we're done. We're done. So I just I got a good hearty laugh out of that last one. People being scared of of pieces of metal. And a lot of it is just ignorance. If you don't understand something, you will fear it until you understand it. So if you don't understand something and it causes you anxiety or fear, educate yourself and then see if that anxiety or fear was necessary or if it was just based on the ignorance. It's amazing. I'm trying to read your remark. Oh yeah, the pansies won't sign up with Fleet of Canada. Yeah, Gypsy. Yeah, what people are able to do through the internet and through the cyber stuff. It scares me too. It's almost amazing how much the world has changed just since I was in high school, when the internet was just getting traction, just starting to become a place to share information. It's amazing to see And I'm just going to say it, it's amazing to see how stupid the next two generations popped out. You know, because when you live in the real world and you live in a real society where you see real people daily and you watch people with their real lives, and they're really paying their bills, and they're really making a business, and they're really working a career, and they're really raising cattle, and they're really raising chickens, and they're really planting a garden, and you can't help but learn skills because you are really there as well. You're really present. And it's just like our society is no longer present, and they're detached physically, emotionally, mentally. And not only have we lost so many skills that are necessary just for survival in many cases, just if a small blip happened, just for survival, we've lost so many skills. Just because we've been given this tiny little outlet and we spend more time in this blip out in the ether than we do in the real world. It's amazing to see the skills that have been lost in just a couple of generations. Basically, for entertainment value. The entertainment value has been with this stupidity, with these stupid videos and vines and people that do stupid things, or reality stars, or makeup channels, or things that aren't going to feed you. If the internet goes away tomorrow, what skills do you have? What skills do you have? People don't read books anymore. They don't keep books in their library. They don't read books. They don't get outside. They don't learn to identify plants. They don't, I mean, I used to like be able to identify not just the tree, but like the black oak it's Quercus velutina. It's black oak. I used to be able to tell you 100 of those. Um, a red oak is Quercus aceracea. A red, what is it? A red maple is Aceracea rubrum, I believe. I used to be able to tell you all these things, identify them. When I went on trail rides, heck, I would pick my salad in the open field and in the shady growth by the forest. I'd pick a little salad of dandelion and plantain and other stuff to eat with the sandwich I'd packed in the morning when I'd go out to cut trails with my horse, and I'd be out for 10 to 12 hours on my little horse cutting trails for big trail riding facilities. And if I got hungry in between and I didn't want to eat my apple that I brought to share with my horse, then as we were skirting places looking for passes, I would find a place that was really good berry growing place. We'd make a lot of noise in case there was a bear there. We'd want to scare it off. But I would run through, turn my cowboy hat upside down, pick me some blackberries, not even leave my saddle, just take my horse to the edge of the blackberries, pick the blackberries, and have me some blackberries as a snack. Um, and just people did not know that. But if I ran out of water for the day and was thirsty, I knew how to find the freshest water. I knew where to, with the lay of the land, what direction I needed to go in order to get to the freshest running water. I knew where there were a couple of springs too. But nobody knows these things anymore. And I was just a teenager, and if I get hungry on a trail ride and I would take people out for a trail ride, I would grab sassafras leaves off the tree. I just strip them off the tree and just eat them on the trail ride. And people would be like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm eating sassafras leaves." And they're like, "Are those not toxic?" And I'm like, "Sassafras. It's what they make root beer and tea out of. If you wanted to nibble the whole tree right now, it wouldn't hurt you." But the leaves just have a very faint sassafras taste. It's a very faint, if you've had the tea or root beer, it's just a very faint, you can kind of barely taste the flavor of it. But I would eat them all day long. I love sassafras leaves. And I'm just amazed with just a couple of generations how far we've gotten. To now, our skill sets are almost all gone. knowing, I mean, we're so detached from the forest and from the land now, it's pathetic. And when they see people that do lead lives that are still heavily attached to the land, to the animals in the forest, to nature, they get this moral high ground of, well, you shouldn't do that. I don't do it, so you shouldn't do it. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not you. So you go on about your day. 90% of the things that you want to do, I don't want to do, but that's fine. You go be you. I'm going to go be me. But we've gotten so upset with who other people are and who we should allow other people to be. And it's all based off this fictitious moral book that we all create between our ears, which is fiction. It's fiction, it's our little world. And we all go out with our little fiction novel that we've written and we judge the rest of the world on it. And that's from detachment. Because if we'd grown up in the real world, in the real society, watch people do real things, real careers, really interact, we would not have fiction between our ears. We would actually have a skill set of how to interact appropriately socially. And someone else's life would not terrify you because you would have a 5-second thought of, oh, well, not everyone has my life. Because not everyone lives in a concrete jungle, or not everyone lives in the hills and valleys, or not every, it's just like I should be the one that is so super protected by the hills that I should have the minimal capacity to understand the scope of someone else's life. Because surely these people in these big urban sprawling jungles have more information around them to where they can understand more and learn more about the world and people. It doesn't seem that way. It seems like they get very comfortable with this little monotone lifestyle that you find in these urban areas, and they forget that not everywhere is like that. And I live in the boondocks, and I'm very aware of the different little societies within the world because I have to leave my little hill and slide down off the plateau and cross a few hollers so I can jump on a big road so I can go see a specialist or I can, see a better doctor or have a procedure done. And I visit that world and I see it. And I know it's there, but I don't know. It's like they've forgotten that, rural America is not a national park. It's not a national park. It's not a dog run. It's not a petting zoo. It's we're actually real people that still live off the land and rely on Mother Nature. And so, I don't know. I think it's just backwards how the people that should be so educated seem to be so, I don't know, to have such limited capacity to understand others, and the people that you would think from living so rural would have a true limited capacity normally have the most open minds when it comes to accepting other people's lifestyles. And I've just noticed that the last decade or so, I've gotten more nasty statements from people that did not like the way that me and my husband lived, that did not like that we ate deer and squirrel in the winter and wild hog, and my family raised their own beef cattle, and um, they were just really disgusted with us. And you're starting to see some people come back to that. Homesteading and stuff is starting to become more of a sought out lifestyle, but it still has a very romanticized side of it that is not the actual lifestyle. There's still stuff that they don't want to talk about. So think I hear my husband. He's finally gotten home from work, so I'm going to go visit for a little while, make him a snack. But just want to get on here and say that. I think it was a good week for me. I think I needed the week off. I needed my energy elsewhere. I did miss you all. But it gave me a valid perspective. And I may do a quick video update on the Summer Wells saga, but it's gonna be heavily based on the Ryan Upchurch energy that was put in there last week. So he's come in, he's put his lunchbox down. He's wanting a snack. But I've missed you all, and really, when they do that, there's no way for me to tell you what's going on. I mean, it's I have so many issues with YouTube and their behavior. But anyway, I do have the Creek Squad Counselor channel up. It will be my backup channel from now on. So should I get another strike on this one, which we all know it's going to happen at some point, we all know. Just you all know. If I think it, I'm going to say it. Um, but should something happen, the Creek Squad Counselor is set up, and of course, Hillbilly Furs on Facebook and the Etsy store Hillbilly Heart Decor. David actually, I think, restocked that one quite heavily yesterday. Um, so there are other ways to find me, and of course, my email watersworkload@gmail.com. If you need to reach out for anything, you can get me there as well. I'm not mad I had a week off. I was very irritated. After I laughed for a little while and thought about it, I'm not mad I had a week off, and the week I needed off, and my energy went to much bigger things that needed to be done. And yeah, I've got a lot of stuff to tell you. It will have to be parceled out as I have the time and I get some go aheads from some people, but I do have a lot of great and surprising information and things to share. But I'm back. I'm still taking strategic naps and resting because my body is still healing from the thing that happened a month ago, the flare. But I'm doing better. But I can't wait till summer gets here. I'll be doing a whole lot better when the weather holds out. Um, but I've missed you all. So if you're on YouTube and you see the drama or you see the hate or you see the people being inappropriate, don't engage. Just walk away. Don't give them your energy. Don't give them your time. Don't give them the satisfaction of having that little bit of control over you. Just walk away. And if they follow you, block them. There's so much negativity, but the thing is if you choose to block the negativity and focus on the positive, it really will start becoming a more positive place because the algorithm will go, oh, they don't want to mess with people like that, and they'll start giving you more positive place. If you want someone that's positive, go watch um, Celebrating Appalachia. Go watch Hannah Lee Dugan, 2Gs. She's this little girl that is terribly independent and feisty and is like cabin living all on her own. She just recently got into a serious relationship, so she's been all on her own, doing everything on her own. All the work on the home, the homestead, everything. She's learning everything. Smart little girl. Um, you go seek out some people that are doing positive things like early. I think is it Early Americans and the Frontier Patriot. I think they run the same two channels. Um, this lady cooks in all the old ways on a stone hearth, and then after she cooks it, they at the Frontier Patriot they sit down, eat, and converse and do a live. It's just neat. I love these channels. They kind of give me something to kind of watch. Um, I used to watch Will Johnson on Unite America First, but now YouTube has completely kicked him to the curb. You can't find him. You have to go to Rumble to find him. Um, yeah, if y'all have good channels, when this reloads and allows you to put comments, recommend some channels. I like the channels of people that show their lifestyles, even if they're like super different than mine. It shows their lifestyles, and you get to know them, on a personality basis. You get to really understand who they are. And if they have animals, it's a huge bonus. Yukon, there's a guy that I think it's just Yukon, and all it is videos of his horses and his dogs and his goats. It's great content on a bad day, y'all. It's excellent content. But start finding just people that are a little bit more uplifting. And that's last week I spent much more time on the positive channels, especially celebrating Appalachia. She's a really great lady, doesn't live too awful far from me. And she is such a great editor and video maker. You'll love her content, and her family's just precious. She's great. Whippoorwill, is it Whippoorwill Holler? There's an older lady that cooks. I think it's Whippoorwill Hollow. I may be making that completely up. I'll try to write these down so I'm better prepared next time. But I also watch some weirder channels. Like I watch the Ask a Mortician channel, and I like to learn things that you just things that just aren't going to fall in your lap. Things that you have to go outside and open up to learn. I like to go learn weird things like that every once in a while. Do a lot of history channels, a lot of documentary channels and stuff like that. So, but I'll try to write some of them down to share with you when I'm on next time. But I just wanted to come on and say I missed you. I didn't think I'd talk this long. I didn't think David would beat me home before I shut up. But I missed you a lot. And if you have purchased something from Dave's Etsy shop or fell in love with a craft I've made and contacted me, bless your heart. Y'all mean a lot to us. Y'all have helped us a lot in the last couple of weeks. It's been a huge blessing. And never feel obligated. But if you see something you fall in love with in Dave's Etsy shop, we tried to price things much better than what most people price them. I craft basically to keep my sanity. That's pretty much about it. So, if you fall in love with something that I show on here during a crafting session, let me know, because I have a tiny house and I cannot keep everything. But we really appreciate you, and I think it was just a week that was needed. So I'm not mad at all. I actually have still laughed about it every time I think about somebody in the corner sucking their thumb, scared of a beaver trap. It's always going to make me laugh. Goodness gracious. But y'all, I'm going to get some rest. I will probably see you tomorrow. I'm hoping to do a live tomorrow evening if I feel better. And just kind of get back in the rhythm of things. I'm glad she liked those, Denise. It's not often that you find somebody that truly embraces our specific kind of native art. So I'm glad she really enjoyed those. It's a good educational tool as well. So I've got a coyote face tanned pelt, just the face, used in a very odd way in my home. But I've fallen in love with it since I placed it there, and it will probably stay with me now forever since I've figured out this nifty little trick. I'll try to remember to take a picture tomorrow and show you. But yeah, it's nice when you find people that really like what you do. And most people really appreciate David because not did he just trap the animal or tan the animal or have a hand in one part of it. He trapped, skinned, fleshed, tanned, made that from start to finish. That animal was only in his hands. And I think that's why a lot of people enjoy getting his hides, is because they know it was done the old way by someone who respected the animal enough to take it from start to finish the entire way. So we get a lot of good feedback from the people that get his pelts. We put I think three really pretty pelts on the Etsy store yesterday. David put one that was bobtailed, and the story of the bobtailed coyote is up there on his ad if you want to go look at it. It's under Hillbilly Heart Decor on Etsy. And probably the most beautiful pelt we saw all winter, and doggone it, no tail. And because of the way he was caught on trail cams throughout pre-trapping and trapping season, we couldn't tell there was no tail. Um, but he didn't have a tail. And if it had had a tail, it would have been the most gorgeous pelt I'd ever seen in my entire life. A lot of people actually do eat beaver, and they still do eat beaver. We use no, we don't eat it. I'm sure in a pinch, I probably wouldn't mind to try it. I mean, the meat looks good when we're handling the carcasses; they look fine. Um, now there are a lot of people here that say they do eat it still. I've not crossed that line yet. I will eat lots of things, but I have not endeavored to try beaver. Of course, the beaver population just really started to boom here about a decade ago. So really, it wasn't something that we had a lot of, and now we have way too many. So I could see it completely becoming a food source. But the meat actually is really lean. The fat is very isolated from the lean meat. It is the protective coating around their body, and I know this sounds horrible, but my barn cats, my mousers and stuff, when they know that David has carried a big fat beaver in from trapping one morning, they will go sit at his trap door, at his trap shop door, and like knock on. You know how my cat knocks on the front door? She will knock on his trap door, his trapping shed, and he'll be in there with a fire going and skinning everything. And every once in a while, when he hears them knocking, he'll throw out chunks of meat. And my cats are fat, slick, gorgeous. I mean, Amber Sue is like 7 or 8 years old, and she still carries her big pantaloons. She's got those enough fur that looks like she's got those big giant MC Hammer pants on. Um, she gets so fat every winter, and it's from that beaver meat that he feeds them. But most of the time, it goes back into creating lure or bait for other sets, so for the other animals and stuff. Um, but there's a lot of people around here say they still eat it. Matter of fact, I think a couple of the bigger carcasses may have gone to a couple of families that's why they wanted them. Um, but I've not crossed the line yet. If I ever do, I'll let you know what it tastes like. I'm just not there yet. I've ate turtle. Um, I have had possum and sweet taters when I was little. Turtle. If me and my husband fish and you know, you got to keep up with rule books. The common snapping turtle is fine. The alligator snapper is protected. But if we can catch just a common snapping turtle, we'll clean it because they have like 7 different kinds of meat in their body. It's all different. It tastes really good, but you got to boil it and then fry it. If you don't boil it before you fry it, it's not edible. You just have to know how to fix it. But I mean, we eat lots of things, squirrel and deer and a little bit of everything. But when I was younger, beaver was not a big issue in this area. You didn't see them a lot. We didn't have a lot of standing water. We live very up, very high up on the plateau. Um, it was only within the last decade or so that they've moved in. And what happened was the big northern beavers actually moved down and started to interbreed. And so now instead of just our little black or brown beavers, you'll see these big blonde mixtures start to show up. And they'll be, instead of 35, 45 pounds, they'll be 65 to 85 pounds. I think the state record now is like 111, 115. Um, so they're moving down from like British Columbia and up there and breeding. And I anticipate the gray wolf to also kind of follow that same movement pattern. I've anticipated that for a few years now, and I'm kind of watching that as well. Um, but yeah, I've had snake. It does actually kind of taste like chicken. I've had snake. I've had rattlesnake. Um, so I've probably eaten a lot more rabbits and rabbit and squirrel and your own catfish and stuff. That's just kind of how you're raised up here. You go bring home dinner. I can't tell you how many times I got home from school and picked up my gun and went and brought home 3 or 4 squirrel and cleaned them so that we could turn them into squirrel dumplings or fry them up. Or gone fishing and brought home a stringer of fish to clean and fry it. It's just how you're raised around here. So, but we'll talk more about that. David's excited to still do more videos as long as somebody's not going to report them. But we'll get onto that on another day. Lots more to talk about. Still lots of stuff we've never thought about talking about. We'll get there one day. But I'm going to go to bed now. Got to try to get up in the morning, and I'm actually going to try to be out in the sun a little bit tomorrow morning. But I can almost guarantee that you'll see me tomorrow evening. So I look forward to catching up with you. I've missed you. Hope y'all had a good week. Mine was a forced vacation from YouTube, but it was a good one. But I'm back now. So let's see what I can accomplish this week positively for YouTube. So I will see you tomorrow. I love you. I'm going to feed my husband and then go to bed. Bye, y'all.